This is called Break Every Chain, the name of Jesus. And what I wanted to talk about is surrender to Jesus. That's what I did and do every day. I pray every morning, surrender to Jesus and to His Spirit, ask Him for help. I have this whole prayer. It's a little different every day, maybe a little bit, but most of it is the same. I ask for help and guidance. I use the name of Jesus to help me, and He's delivered me and released me from so many things, habits and addictions and behaviors. So if you have any of that, I want to tell you that His name works. I tried a lot of other things. I tried my willpower, and that only got me so far, and I ended up back doing what I was doing before so many times. When I started using the name of Jesus and was persistent about it every day, every moment that I needed help, it has worked so many different ways. And I wanted to read a couple things for you about this. Also talk about how important it is to sometimes pray and dwell on something. When I mean pray, I don't mean in some religious way. I mean you talk to God, you ask, you use the name of Jesus, you ask for help, and you continue to ask for it. He says to knock on the door, and sometimes you have to knock several times. It's part of the faith involved that I believe this is going to happen, to continue to ask and believe in His name, Jesus. So this verse I like. Is this not the fast which I chose, to loosen the bonds of wickedness, to undo the bands of the yoke, and to let the oppressed go free, and to break every yoke? So remember about fasting and praying, and I don't mean some long fast necessarily. One time I did 17 days, and I think it was a very important thing for me. But now what's been important for me recently is that I don't make food so important or eat so much at one time that I stay hungry a lot or in between, and that I pray and dwell on things and ask for help. So that's one thing. And then the other part that I wanted to talk about was how important that worshiping and praising God and the name of Jesus and Jesus, and how important that is. So there's this one about Paul and Silas. They were thrown in jail because they threw out a demon out of a woman who was a fortune teller, and she kept following them around, telling everybody that they were from Jesus. And I forget what exactly she said. Let's see what she said. She said, "These men are the bondservants of the Most High God and are proclaiming to you the way of salvation." She kept doing that every day, and finally one of them said, "Get out of her in the name of Jesus," and she was freed, and she was thanking them and became a follower of Christ. But her pimps didn't like it because they weren't going to make any more money from her fortune telling. So they brought her to the authorities, and they beat Paul and Silas a lot, and then threw them in jail. And when they had struck them with many blows, they threw them into prison, commanding the jailer to guard them securely. And he, having received such a command, threw them into the inner prison and fastened their feet in the stocks. So even after they were beaten, this is how they reacted. But at about midnight, in the middle of the night, Paul and Silas were praying and singing hymns of praise to God. So it's really important that you show your belief by singing and praising. It's a faith thing, I believe, and I'm grateful. It's so important to be grateful. Not always are you released from something right away, but it's important to be grateful for every situation that you're in, because some of those things are there to teach you something and to learn something. And if you don't learn it, He's a good God, and He's going to keep teaching it to you again and again. Sometimes I've had to learn something before I was released from something, is what I'm saying. They were singing hymns of praise to God, and the prisoners were listening to them. And suddenly there came a great earthquake, so that the foundations of the prison house were shaken, and immediately all the doors were opened, and everyone's chains were unfastened. When the jailer awoke and saw the prison doors were open, he drew his sword and was about to kill himself, supposing that the prisoners had escaped. But Paul cried out with a loud voice, saying, "Do not harm yourself, for we are all here." And he called for lights and rushed in, and trembling with fear he fell down before Paul and Silas. And after he brought them out, he said, "Sirs, what must I do to be saved?" It's a really great story in so many ways, but what I want you to remember, the jailer got saved in his whole house, and Paul and Silas were let out of jail right after that. But the thing I want to focus on is that they were in this terrible situation, and they believed God, and they prayed and thanked and praised God and sang. It lifts your spirit to sing. It's very important. I've been doing more listening to praise and worship music. I have YouTube music, so I have my favorites now, and I'll share one here and there. The one that I want to share with you today, it'll be down below, is "What a Beautiful Name" with "Break Every Chain." It's a really great song that I love to sing, and it reminds me of all the things that I've been set free from, and all the chains that used to bind me, and now I'm free from. And I think about all the ones that I'm going to be released from in the future. It's very inspiring. I really like it. So if you're into that, check it out at the link below. And have a good day.